So introduction, mahalo. Yeah, tell us a little bit about yourself. And maybe we Aloha, Velina Maine, Makohoi Pai Aina. Welcome to your venue for your free speech. You have to protect it, keep it real, and keep it right here in your islands, your community, your living room. That is what we're going to be talking about this evening. So come on in, get closer. This is Truth and Justice, Makohoi Pai Aina, otherwise known as Right versus Rule. And we are here live on April 30th, 2012. Yes, it's already that time. And we have a wonderful show for you this evening. As we always promote and advocate, your rights for free speech belong to you and no other, particularly not a corporation or body of government emulating your body of government, which the people, the nation make up, and who are the polity, the voice for you, for me, for all of us, ako mako aloha, ako kako aloha. And what we want to do this evening is invite you in closer. We want to bring you in and bring you up to speed to an item that is happening rather quietly, but it is taking on a shape of its own, where people in the community are now aware, and we'd like to dialogue with you. We want to talk with you and your families out there about what is affecting you and affecting and possibly eroding the rights that we have. Okay, but first, I'd like to say a big mahalo, not only from myself personally, but also from the Ad Hoc Conciliation Commission, Makohoi Pai Aina, that will be going to New York to attend the United Nations Permanent Forum on Indigenous Issues, the 11th session. Of great interest to all you Kanaka Maoli, Amako, is the theme of the 11th session this year, which is the Doctrine of Discovery and the rights for redress by those who have been subjected to colonization and those who have been subjected to conquest under that what I believe is to be a horrible doctrine. It's called the Doctrine of Discovery. And we're going to go there on your behalf as a human rights conciliation hui. And we're going to network and dialogue with other indigenous peoples at the forum. And we're going to kuka about what we can do about it, hopefully unite and bring forward a solution that is acceptable and agreeable with us all. Mahalo to all of you, Bruce, Satya, the wonderful bands that came out and played for us and brought the messages home, the sharing and the kuleana of freedom and how we need to protect our Mother Earth. On Earth Day, I want to thank you all and share a big mahalo to you. Also to Mika, Michael Murphy, for speaking up about chemical trails and the otherwise known as chemical stratospheric spraying and geoengineering that is happening in our natural skies. We know that the sky is blue, however, some days we just can't see it. And instead we get a milky white film of aluminum in our faces, in our plate lunches, and on our shave ice. And this is not cool. That aluminum may crust over a brain in several years. So be on alert, people. Support the ordinance, which is the Maui Clear Sky Ordinance, or the Maui Clean Sky Ordinance. And we need your support on this, okay? So check out Facebook Chemical Spraying, and I mean, you can just Facebook it in. Chemtrail Spraying, and Michael Murphy actually is on Facebook. His page carries a lot of information, a lot of fact, a lot of scientifically proven facts out there. Mahalo once again to Studio Maui for holding the symposium, and also Dr. Lauren Pang and all of the helpers and supporters out there to make a difference. We don't want this in our skies. There are a lot of other items that we could speak about that have to do with our holistic existence, our health existence, but there's one that I mentioned earlier that is really causing a lot of interest, and well worth it too. I want to introduce to you our guest this evening. Her name is Dr. Debra Greene, and she's with us tonight to share information with you. Aloha.
Aloha and mahalo. It's a pleasure to be here.
Well, it's a pleasure to have you here, and thank you for being with us. Can you share a little bit about your background and what is your field of study?
Yes, absolutely. I'm an energy health specialist, and as such, I'm trained in energy medicine, and basically I'm an educator, so I teach people about their energy levels and what they can do to help preserve their vitality. And I got interested in that, which brought me into the whole issue that we're going to talk about tonight. Is it okay to reveal it?
Yes, it is.
Yes, so what we want to talk about tonight is smart meters. And it's kind of an ironic name because they're called smart meters, but they're really not very smart, meaning they're not a smart idea at all. And the fact that they're named smart meters, I think, is very indicative of what's behind this whole initiative. You know, trying very hard to present this as being such a wonderful thing when it's really not. So as an energy health specialist, I work with people's energy systems, and that's what got me interested in the whole topic of electromagnetic radiation exposure. And so I'm very aware of the effects of cell towers and antennas and cell phones and cordless phones and baby monitors and, you know, Wi-Fi on the computer and all these kinds of things, and the negative effects that they have on our health and on every living thing, in fact. Not just human health, but also the plants, the animals, the Aina. Everything is affected by this electromagnetic radiation. And it becomes very acute when we start talking about a smart meter or a smart grid project, which is what's happening right here on Maui right now.
Well, we've got we've got some news to share with you because it's definitely causing a stir. Check out kawaitruth.com, and this article was carried in The Garden Island. You can check it out, thegardenisland.com, about protesters of the Kauai Island Utility Cooperative's initiative to install smart meters. And this was posted Tuesday, April 24th, 2012. This initiative by Kauai Island Utility Cooperatives to install smart meters take their message to Kapa'a on Kuhio Highway, fronting the courtyard by Marriott at Coconut Beach, where the KIUC board met Tuesday afternoon to answer questions from the utility co-op's members. The KIUC Cooperative Board is considering an opt-out program for members who do not want smart meters installed on their property, but meanwhile will defer installation upon request. The board is saying we'll allow the members a choice. The CEO of the board is David Bissell. This is David Bissell being quoted. He said that we won't force smart meters to go on to any house or business at this time. Now,
I think the key phrase there is "at this time."
Yes, yes.
Because it's not a definitive, we won't force them, it's we won't force them at this time.
Right. And I don't know about anybody else, but nobody should be forcing nothing onto anybody's house or into their house or what should be a private zone. And, you know, the protesters were citing health fears and privacy concerns.
Yes. And the other interesting thing about what's happening on Kauai is that the co-op utility company basically stopped making the meter installations mandatory. In other words, they agreed with this opt-out program only after a federal injunction was obtained by Kauai residents. So, you know, Kauai has really, you know, fought the fight, so to speak, and, you know, hopefully it won't have to go that far on Maui, but things are really heating up here, so to speak.
Well, let's you know, take the initiative here, because I understand there are 110 of these meters called smart meters, which is obviously a disguise, being installed in Maui Meadows.
Right.
And my question is to you, Dr. Greene, these 110 meters that are being installed, do the people allowing them to be installed have full disclosure on the health risks that they are opening themselves up to, or full disclosure on the fact that these smart meters have not been approved by any health organization?
Yes, I mean, and the answer to that is no. There is not full disclosure going on at all. There is, in fact, almost no disclosure whatsoever about how the smart meters work, exactly what it is they're going to do, and exactly what's going to be done with all of the data that is recorded by the smart meters. People are being asked on Maui to volunteer for this pilot project that's taking place in Maui Meadows in South Maui without any information at all about the negative side effects and the potential dangers of these devices. And the potential dangers and negative side effects are very well documented. They're just not being talked about.
So those of you of the 110 who are allowing these meters to be installed in your home and in your privacy, which allow for data mining on your personal habits and what goes on in your home, and you 110 people that are allowing this to take place, we would like evidence from you to probably place into our own case, just to be certain, if we have to. I mean, Kauai's doing it and they got an injunction and they finally said, oh, we're sorry, we don't want to you know, infringe anymore, erode your rights in your personal home. We invite you, 110 homeowners or occupants, as you are called in this entire human experiment. We invite you to please contact us, and you can go to stopsmartmeters.org and check it out yourself, or you can go to stopsmartmetershawaii.com. And are you available to be contacted through that site?
Yes, I am. The StopSmartMetersHawaii.com website is a newly launched website that is meant to be a kind of clearinghouse for information about the smart meter project, particularly as it applies to our islands. And It's a newly launched site, so you know it's kind of a work in progress, but we have a very solid start on it, and it's a very good way to stay in touch. And I also want to point out that on that website, there's a link to a petition that you can sign to stop the smart grid.
Awesome, and it's actually got a very good start here going on. We checked out the website, and you've got smart meter facts here,
Yes.
which are very important and I think awesome for disclosure. The American Academy of Environmental Medicine has called for a moratorium on smart meters in homes, your homes, people, and schools, your schools where you leave your children, your keiki, over 12 hours a day sometimes, based on the documented health hazards of radio frequency radiation from these so-called smart meters. Check out the site aaemonline.org for more information. The World Health Organization has categorized radio frequency radiation as a Class 2B carcinogen. Can you explain to our viewers carcinogen?
Yeah, it means that it's potentially cancer-causing. And maybe we should talk a little bit about like how smart meters work that could maybe help people understand the dangers of these devices. I also realize my books are sitting here, so maybe I'll talk about them a little bit. I wrote this book, Endless Energy, The Essential Guide to Energy Health, and it's basically a health guide. And one of the sections in the book addresses the dangers of electromagnetic radiation. And electromagnetic radiation comes from many different devices and appliances in the home. But the thing about using appliances or devices like a cell phone or a computer with Wi-Fi on it is that you can choose to shut it off, but you cannot shut off a smart meter. So once your current meter gets replaced with a so-called smart meter, the smart meter basically runs constantly. 24 hours a day, 7 days a week, 365 days a year, and you have no control over it. You cannot shut it off because it's tracking all of your electrical use. And it is a two-way transmission system, meaning unlike your current meter where, when you use something electrical, if you, plug in an appliance or you use your blow dryer or whatever it is, the little wheel, goes around on your meter and you can actually see, it spinning and that you're using electricity. Well, with a smart meter, not only does the information from your home get recorded on the meter, but it also digitally passes through your neighbors' smart meters, and all of that data and information gets passed on to the power company. And so, some people are fond of saying that if you have a smart meter in your home, it's akin to having a camera in your home, where it's tracking every single minute of your electrical use. And that might not sound like much, but your electrical use, every appliance that you have, every device that you have has a unique electrical signature. Right. And that's what can be tracked. And there's a chart, if you'd like to see it, that shows this. Is that of interest?
Actually, yes. And then we want to go to a video that you brought with us that explains this more, and we can speak to that again when we come back. If you'd like to go to it, here we are.
So this is a picture of the kind of data that can be obtained by the power company on your electrical use. And it's basically a graph that's showing the unique energy signatures of all of your different appliances. And so by looking at this, they can tell, what time did you get up in the morning? What room in your house did you go to? What appliance did you turn on? Oh, you turned on a blow dryer. How long did you use it? Oh, you used an electric toothbrush. How long did you use that? Oh, you turned on your kettle. cable? How long did you have that on? How long is your refrigerator running? Did you turn on your stove? Did you heat up the oven? On and on and on and on it goes. So it's like a surveillance, device that is tracking every single thing that you're doing inside your home in terms of any kind of electrical use.
Well, you know what this reminds me of? It reminds me of, there are certain uses that this type of technology will serve, and it could pick up or probably house the signature of a human's energy. And this is a potential to do that. They could create a feedback or combination, like a reflection of the energy that's coming off of appliances, and so they could feed out what is non-human and what is human. So they could tell what room you're in. Mm-hmm. They could actually track a human being under the guise of setting one of these cameras, these eyeballs in your home is what they're called, and actually transmit your energy signature onto a surveillance grid, which is, what do you know? We have the Air Force surveillance cameras up at Haleakala, and that makes for a convenient plug to attach all of these electrical components. And mai pu'ina, the human body is a conductor of electricity to or current, and can be microwaved as well, and can conduct radioactive.
Yes, and the health impacts of these devices is that they emit radio frequency radiation, and it's being shown that the radio frequency radiation that's emitted by most of the smart meters is in the microwave frequency range. And so we're constantly being zapped, by our own electrical meter, in our house.
Right.
And oftentimes an electric meter could be mounted on a wall that's outside of a bedroom or outside of a baby's room, and constantly being bathed in radio frequency radiation is a known, as we mentioned, carcinogen. It causes cancer, and has been determined by the World Health Organization. Mm-hmm. So the fact that we want these so-called cancer meters, in our homes, it's very frightening and very, very disconcerting. So not a good idea on a health level, and as I mentioned, we can't shut them off. I mean, once you get one, you can't shut it off, so you're basically in it.
We would like to actually get the permission of the 110 people who, without disclosure, are allowing the installation of these carcinogen eyeballs into their private homes and residences. We'd love for you to contact us, particularly the AHCC, the Ad Hoc Conciliation Commission, which works for universal human rights. We'd like for you to contact us. Check it out, Facebook, AHCC, or Human Rights Hawaii. I want you also, every one of you, to know that there is a neighborhood alert. We want you to check it out. Attend a meeting on May 16th. From 6 p.m. to 8 p.m., we want you to get active and get involved, especially get involved, because this is your right, okay? Kihei Charter School is at the Lipoa Center. Is that upstairs or downstairs?
It's downstairs. Yeah, okay. Lipoa Center is actually the little strip mall where First Hawaiian Bank is, and the school is back on the outside edge of that little strip mall back there.
Okay.
Yeah.
All right.
The whole strip mall is called Lipoa Center.
Okay, and if you don't know where you're going, or you just want to talk to someone, you want to hear a voice as well, do you have a number that people could call?
Sure, they can call me. I'm at 874-6441. 874-6441. Okay. Need you to be there
And if I can, I'm going to be there as
Yeah,
well.
it's Wednesday,
because
a Wednesday, May 16th.
yeah, this was brought up over a year ago, and kind of stumped out because it went around quickly. People disseminated information and got some information out there, but they're trying it again, people. Let's go check out this video. We want you to stay right where you're at and become enlightened. Okay?
We are now entering the brave new world of smart meters. That means your electric meter will do so much more than just show how much electricity you use. The new smart meters are watching you. They sense all kinds of goings-on. They see when you turn something on or off. They see how many watts your electric toothbrush pulls. They send the record of that little event over wireless networks, bouncing through your neighbor's smart meters, all the way to the power company, where they keep record of all your electric consumption volumes and patterns every minute of every day, and store that data forever on computers that you'll never get to see. That data shows when you are at home, shows when you're sleeping, shows when you're on vacation, when you have visitors, when you use a lamp, a power tool, some extra computers, and if you look like you're running a business out of your home. It even senses when you bootleg energy off the grid. Your smart meter data shows a vivid profile of your personal living patterns and whether or not you were at home on the night of the murder. This is not electrical metering. This is personal surveillance. This is a search without a warrant every day. This is your personal private life going straight out through your electric meter to the power company, to the government, to the police, to the insurance company, to anyone who cuts a deal with your power company to look at your life under a microscope. Sorry, it's actually worse than that. People who don't cut a deal can get your information too by simply intercepting the wireless signal spewing from the side of your house. Yes, smart meters are radio transmitters. Here's how you tell. This one is a 1-watt radio station licensed by the FCC. On this all-news radio station, every detail of your electrical life is shooting off to some institutional data center somewhere. Already, the police in Ohio, Texas, British Columbia, and places I don't know about are regularly using smart meter data to pinpoint marijuana grow houses, enforce business licenses, and punish people for doing things in the privacy of their own homes that you were not supposed to do, but they wouldn't even know you were doing if they weren't spying on you. Your power company apparently gets to sell your personal life story to whomever it wants. Any unusual power consumption pattern is considered probable cause to raid you for growing marijuana or running a computer server without a business license. This is about as big brother as it gets. Those friendly men with their truckload of smart meters are going door to door with something a little different than a Christmas carol. My personal opinion is that you and I need to demand that these things be taken off our homes. It is not possible for your power company to claim they have the right to install a surveillance device on your house. Smart meters are no different from wiretapping devices. And in case you didn't know, wiretapping is illegal in all 50 of the states and the federal territories. If you let your power company put a smart meter on your house, you may as well walk around all day with a Facebook helmet webcam pointed at yourself. They have convinced themselves installing smart meters is lawful by some reaching to the moon jive called implied consent. If you say they can change your meter, they pretend you consent even when you don't know really what they're doing. Here's a tip. Tell them they can't change your meter. They had no trouble billing you with the old meter. If you send them a notice by certified mail that they may not install a smart meter or any other surveillance device on your house, their implied consent goes out the window. I would do that if I were you. In fact, I did that, and I'm not even you. You can see a copy of my letter in the drop-down next to this video. You can copy and paste that into your word processor. Make sure and change the info into your own info. The post office will give you the certified mail slip. Those friendly guys on the sidewalk told me that they plan to put a smart meter on every house in America. If they do that, it will no longer be America.
Ken. Well,
I'm sorry.
oh, look at, we're ready to jam on that because we're talking off camera about the important points this commentator is making. Send the letter. You know, sacrifice the couple of dollars that it takes you to send a certified letter to Miko or Hiko. Probably Miko is enough, right? Send it to Miko and tell them, I hereby command of you or whatever, just that I don't want a smart meter installed in my home. Don't even try it. And I have you on record as accepting service and notice, and so you'll be legally bound by being served that I am activating on my right to privacy. And he also, the commentator also brings up the fact that, you know, this allows more of an erosion of your right to privacy, and therefore it's giving the administration, calling itself a government now, the right to search and seize. The right to search and seize is based on what is private and what is not, and based on what are or could be claimed interests by the administration calling itself your government. And should they have any leeway or any little bit to claim any interest in your privacy, they can take it and they can do so under their rules. It's very gray in search and seize if they can place their interest inside of your private residences. And the rule that you can fight on against any search and seizure is the reasonable privacy or reasonable expectation of privacy. And if you consent to smart meters being installed in your home, which are basically cancer-causing eyeballs, then you have given up that right to defend any reasonable privacy that you obviously already have right now in your home.
Yes, and if you want to make use of the letter that was provided by the commentator, you can just go to YouTube, and if you type in YouTube, "Are smart meters too smart?" this video will come up, and below it there's a link you can click, and the whole letter, he's included the whole letter there with all kinds of legal, you know, verbiage. So he made that available so people could just print it out and send it on in.
Nice. Now, do you approve of that letter, or is that something that you would use?
The thing is that letter is designed to address power companies that are doing mandatory installations. And on Maui, the installations at this point, and I stress that, at this point in time, they're not mandatory. They are voluntary. However, that doesn't mean that, you know, down the road somewhere that it's not going to become mandatory. And in all likelihood, it just might, because everywhere else that we know of on the mainland where they're also participating in this whole smart grid, smart meter initiative, they're doing forced installations. And communities have had to really fight to stop that. And they've had to defend their old meters. People have put cages around their old meters and put locks on them to try to prevent the utility company from removing their old meter and replacing it. But the good news is that more and more communities and you know, units are successfully passing laws that are preventing mandatory smart meter installation. And the biggest example of that is in California. Right now there are over 55 municipalities that have passed laws making it illegal for smart meters to be installed without people's permission. And that represents almost 4 million people. So, but it's been a fight the whole way, you know. And we don't know actually what's going to happen here on Maui, because even though, you know, they have the pilot project going on South Maui, they're also, anytime somebody has a an electrical concern about their meter, or anyone who installs something like a photovoltaic system where they need the power company to come out and inspect it or approve it, the MECO is taking those opportunities to replace their old power meter and install a smart meter, and without people's permission. So smart meters are actually being installed, you know, all over the island, and a lot of people don't even know that they have one.
That they've got a health risk in the home.
Right. Yeah.
That they're risking the lives of their children, because these are my first introduction to radioactive frequencies.
It's not radioactive, actually, just to be
sorry.
It's radio frequency.
Radio frequencies was, you know, near the military, and they used them to protect sites, certain sites. And they would fry little animals, things like that that got across the line. And that could potentially happen to human beings, and in fact there's a lot of health risk to that's so documented. And people, this is so real. This is not to create fear or to create fear-mongering amongst our community, but this is to get the point across to you that once you allow an erosion like this to take place in the home, you allow it to transfer to your neighbor, and then your neighbor, and then your neighbor, and pretty soon we're all caught up in a web. And
yes, I mean that's a very correct metaphor, because it actually is a web. And you know, if your neighbor has a smart meter, it's emitting radio frequency radiation that's impacting you. It doesn't stay isolated to just, you know, one home. That's the nature of these frequencies. They're very pervasive. They don't stay contained. And the whole system is designed to tie into what's called a mesh grid, or a smart grid, which is like a big web. And the initiative on Maui also involves proposed underwater cables connecting the islands.
oh yes,
And you know, you don't even have to think about that for a moment to realize that that's a very bad idea.
Yeah, let's talk about that. You know, Pacific Cable has already been under fire legally for their part or their role in installing these. And I have all these articles in front of me. Actually, I was doing some research. The Pacific and Oceanic Cable. These could be used to transfer the data that's being mined, and will be used to track you in what you feel is your home, and what you feel is a place where you have safety and you can protect the health of your family. Well, this is what this stands to threaten. It is threatening the health of your family and your security. And don't be fooled by it, okay? Smartmeters, Hawaii.com.
It's actually stopsmartmetershawaii.com.
Hold on, stopsmartmetershawaii.com. And I want you to go to Lipoa Center once again, because you need to see this and you need to be there, okay? Refuse smart meter installation. Immediate action needed. Okay, we're going to see you Wednesday evening on May 16th from 6 to 8 p.m. Kihei Charter School, Lipoa Center. That is East Lipoa Street in Kihei. For those of you on Molokai and Lanai watching, please send your ohana, send your family, and get updated. And if you can, check it out on the internet. And we want you to be as aware of this as possible. And once again, do what you can do, which is send the notices.
Yes, and also sign the petition on the website, on stopsmartmetershawaii.com. The more people who can sign the petition, the better. Right now we have over 225 signatures and growing. And
Yeah.
I mean, that's a really good way to voice your opposition to this. You know, if you can't make the meeting, you know, or even if you can, sign the petition, please.
Definitely sign it. And is it only for Hawaii or?
No, because when we think about these islands and how precious they are, I mean, people come here from all over the world, you know, to bathe in the beauty and the healing aspects of these islands. And so to contaminate them with this mesh grid and expose everyone to this dangerous radiation, it impacts so many people. I mean, I think it's an issue for everyone. And so anybody can sign the petition, and we encourage that actually because you know, it's that big of an issue. And the other thing I want to mention about the issue, which we haven't really touched on, I mean, so far we've talked about the detrimental and documented negative health effects. We've talked about the surveillance and privacy invasion. We've talked a little bit about how the whole project is being, you know, cloaked and
Right.
and packaged and greenwashed. You know, they're presenting it as this, you know, eco-friendly, you know, save electricity kind of thing. Well, the fact is that most people who have the smart meters installed on the mainland, they have seen their utility bills shoot up dramatically. Some people's power bills have even doubled. And so, you know, there's nothing that suggests that these devices actually have any you know, energy saving or conservation aspect to them. It's just they're just greenwashing it and painting a, you know, a pretty face on it. But the last thing that I wanted to mention that we haven't talked about a whole lot is that it, you know, the smart meters are meant to tie into this so-called, you know, smart grid or mesh grid, which will link all of the islands together in terms of their you know, electricity, and it's eventually designed to link into an international kind of power grid. And one of the huge negative effects of this is that it makes the power supply way more vulnerable. I mean, right now, if we have a problem somewhere on Maui, for example, the problem is pretty much isolated to a neighborhood or perhaps even, you know, something affecting this island. But under the proposed smart grid, when everything is connected into this huge conglomerate, one problem somewhere can take the entire grid down. And when you link it up, you know, to the mainland and even to other countries, then you run into a lot more problems from, all it would take would be one solar flare to take out the system or some kind of cyber attack. And if we have time, I have that little video that we can show on that aspect if you'd like.
It's about 4 minutes.
It's actually about 9 minutes.
Oh, 9 minutes?
Yeah. It's up to you.
Okay, we may be able to show that video. What's the title of it?
It's called thepowerfilm.org. That's where you can find it in case we don't have time. And it's about, they're actually interviewing a former CIA director who talks about how the smart grid is such a bad idea because it leaves us vulnerable and open to cyber attack that can destroy not only the grid, but can destroy power companies. So I mean, when these technologies become vulnerable, it doesn't just shut it down; it can actually destroy machinery.
Yeah.
So it's a big deal.
It's you know, it should make you recall when there was just a little glitch in the system and the power went out, and Oahu had all these problems where they had to shut down power in order to gently bring it back in so that it wouldn't blow up and take out grids. Thepowerfilm.org is really powerful. You might see it shared on Facebook, and you may have had it sent to you already, but go check it out. It's thepowerfilm.org. We'll try to play a little bit of it here for you this evening on the show. I just wanted to comment, though, that the integration of all of the utilization points of this grid can actually serve as one big, huge transmitter to receive and to transmit. And that seems like what's being created right here in the Pacific, because there's no possible way to actually conjoin the edges of the grids east and west without having transmitters in the Pacific, with the salt and everything. And that's always been a challenge, thankfully. And I'd like to personally continue it as a challenge to those powers that be that emulate your government, so that there is not, and there will never be, a grid that's going to create glowing antennas out of us all, and glowing antennas out of our children and our beautiful Aina. And that's what Dr. Greene is here to speak on, is your health, the health concerns that should be your concerns, and they in fact are. You are my neighbor, you're my neighbor. And we share this Aina together, so protecting it together as one is what we need to be concentrating on here. And do take this seriously. We're going to roll into the next film and play it probably for about 5 or 6 minutes, and then come back to telling you what you can do and how to take the first step to resolution for us all. Let's check it out.
Politics, when it gets into medicine, education, and law, destroys it and separates the public from the police. And that gap between the police and the public is widening, and it's not the fault of the public. That's a submission I'm making. The gap between the police and the public is widening, and it's not the fault of the public. We as police, and the present-day police there, have lost our meaning why we're there. We're there as peace officers. We're not there to punish people. But that's what it seems to have become. And that's something that really upsets me. My name is Len Miller, and I'm a retired Vancouver police officer. I was in the fraud squad for 10 years. And prior to that, I was in the Air Force. I was a technician in the Air Force. And I was also drove cancer car for 5 years. I think I'd like to serve my community.
Okay. Well, apparently that's not the one that we're looking for, but one of our audience members brought up a very good point about how this technology is not only receiving, but it's also transmitting. And Dr.
Yes.
Greene, if you'd like to speak to that.
Yes, well, one of the things that these so-called smart meters are capable of doing is, because it's a two-way transmission, a two-way communication, it allows for the power company to actually shut off your appliances. And at the moment, they're talking about this as being a very positive thing, because they're saying things like, suppose you go on vacation and you forget to turn off your air conditioning. Well, you don't want your power bill to be, ratcheting up, so you don't have to bother your neighbors or anything. We'll just turn off that air conditioner for you. And so the smart meters allow them to track that. They can track and see, oh, is the air conditioner being used how much? Well, let's just turn that off. You know, oh, did somebody buy a refrigerator that's not very energy efficient? Well, it's taking up too much electricity. Let's just turn that off. They have the capacity through this smart grid system to turn off your appliances. And so then the question arises, well, who's going to be the one who's making those decisions? And if they can turn off appliances, then can they not just turn off the entire, you know, grid in a certain area? And then that raises the question of, well, if somewhere on the mainland is, you know, running out of power, how do we know that they're not just going to, oh, well, you know, Hawaii doesn't need that much power anyway. I mean, you know, you can think about these things, and it's not far-fetched at all with this new technology.
Well, it comes down to a personal decision with Big Brother.
Yes.
So Big Brother is the one that's going to decide whether you've got energy turned back on or not after something blows up somewhere and a transformer or two goes down. And you're basically paying an electrical bill just to a corporation that's actually the owner of the corporate grid. So the corporation is actually sharing it throughout the grid, and you're just paying for someone else's electrical use, which can transfer. That could happen, right? And if there is an explosion or something on the grid and our power goes down, and you know, the point was brought up by an audience member, well, if they think that, if Big Brother thinks that LA is more important to bring back up after the power is gone than Maui, then it's going to be Big Brother's decision.
Yes, and when I heard you mention, you know, something like a transformer blowing up or whatever, the other thing that's been happening with smart meters in people's homes on the mainland is that the smart meters have caused fires, and the smart meters themselves have blown up. So, I mean, it's an additional safety concern about these meters. You know, to the best of my knowledge, we have never had the old-fashioned analog meter blow up, but the new smart meters are a fire hazard.
Right. That was definitely outlined in this 57-page blog that I happened to pull up. All of these people, millions, are blogging about PG&E or that Pacific.
Yeah, it's Pacific Gas and Electric. It's basically the California utility company. Yeah.
So all these people are blogging about the fires caused in their homes by these so-called smart meters, and that is very, very concerning. We're actually a couple of minutes out. And if you guys have got that film up, let's take a look at it for about a couple of more minutes, and at least you, our audience, you're able to recognize what this film looks like. No. Okay, we don't have it ready. But go ahead and check it out, thepowerfilm.org, and we do have a tag here for you with all of the websites that are of interest to you. I know that they are. You can bring that up if you can on the camera. There's StopSmartMetersHawaii.com. There they are.
And that's the one that has the petition that has a link to a petition you can sign to voice your opposition to the smart meter, smart grid.
Okay, thank you. And also check out StopSmartMeters.org, where they do have a page, Smart Meter Lawsuits Multiplying, and also where you can check out the case from Kauai. The resident Adam Asquith files federal lawsuit in U.S. District Court seeking injunction against the Kauai Island Utility Cooperative Smart Meter Plan. The complaint states that the KIUC is rushing forward with the installation of so-called smart meters throughout the island of Kauai, Hawaii, despite serious security and privacy concerns, some of which involve constitutional and statutory violations. So read up on that educate yourself and your ohana. Also, you can check out acluhi.org. That's the ACLU of Hawaii is involved and is taking a serious look at this, and they want you to also be informed. And you can check out smartmeters.com, where they are also carrying the stories of all of the lawsuits against these people trying to force this into your home and erode your right to privacy. Dr. Greene, we're going to go out in about maybe 4 or 5 minutes. And if you'd like to talk about your book here, I'd like to put this one up, Endless Energy. This is very interesting to me. And talk about
yes,
what you do with the energy work.
Mm-hmm. So, I mean, this Endless Energy is basically a health guide, but it's a non-traditional health guide, meaning it's much more paying attention to our energy anatomy and the chi energy or the mana and how it flows in the system and how it interacts with our physical body and with the emotions and thoughts and the universal energy. So that's really what that book is about, and it's got a lot of exercises that you can do, and tips and tools and things that you can do on a very practical level to keep your energy up in these trying and sometimes stressful times.
Well, that's awesome, and thank you for giving this to us. We are very interested in keeping our energy and our mana in optimal flow, and definitely having something cancer causing around you and affect the body.
Yeah.
If you have ohana that have cancer and diabetes, the energy and the mana ebbs with that coming on and taking over the body.
Yes, and I mean basically our energy is our most important aspect, because if we don't have energy, we don't have nothing. Without energy you can't function on any level. You can't move around, you can't think clearly, the emotions go haywire, everything gets affected by that. So that's kind of the bottom line of the book, is pay attention to your energy, pay attention to your mana, protect it. And as you said, certainly these meters are an assault on it.
Definitely. Is this what brought you into this service
that is it.
To your
Yes,
community?
Yes, it is, absolutely. And I have another book for you, and I think that you are quite a goddess. And so this is a book called Goddess Shift, Women Leading for a Change, and it's a book that I have a chapter in along with some other very amazing women, like Michelle Obama and Maya Angelou and Oprah Winfrey and J.K. Rowling, who wrote all of the Harry Potter stuff. And anyway, it's got a lot of amazing chapters in it from some very incredible women, and I'm quite convinced you need a copy, being the goddess that you are.
Thank you. Goddess power is, it is the shift.
Absolutely.
Or the return.
That's what the book is about.
Yeah.
It's about how women becoming more in leadership roles, and because of that, how we're changing things.
My ka'i, Polynesia is very matriarchal, if I can use that word. That's kind of conventional, but that the honoring of the female and having the governing female is always in our mo'olelo, and this really speaks to it. The goddess shift is definitely in good timing. Thank you very much. A couple of minutes. Can you talk about the chapter that you
Yes, well, the
here?
chapter that I have in here talks about how the personal is planetary. And basically it talks about how if we pay attention to our own energies, that and their use and care for those energies, that is not only what will sustain us, in our lives, but that is also what connects us to others and to all of life. And so, that's why the personal is planetary. By attending to those energies inside of us, we can stay connected within and stay connected with all of life.
Mahalo.
Yeah.
Thank you so much for sharing with us. I'd like for you to be on our next show. We're live again in 2 weeks. And check us out, follow us on Facebook, send aloha to the UN. And also, people, it goes against the cultural grain of your existence here. Cause it into action. Mahalo.
Mahalo.